Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome on the stage a keynote presentation speaker, a person who believes in change and acceptance are the power to make the companies understand the power of engagement and how to stay up to date. He has different mindset and motivating one. We are so interested to have on the stage Mr. Salem Al-Dousari, HR Director at Keynote.
Thank you.
لا higher please. Okay, thank you.
يعطيكم العافية. يعطيكم العافية. Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's now almost 4:30. Everybody would like to go home. I'm happy to be here with you, with some familiar faces who came here today to encourage me, and those who I've known through LinkedIn. It's wonderful to meet many HR professionals here under one roof. I'll try to make my keynote speech very short, concise, to ensure that you get the best out of it, and to ensure that we can move ahead with the agenda toward the award. So that's a little bit about me. My name is Salem Al-Dousari. I have graduated from Kuwait University with a major of Industrial and Management Systems Engineering. So since long time, I've loved numbers. I love to make sense out of numbers, to make sure that it makes sense and we can take decisions based on it. When I entered the workforce, I started my career in human resources. So I did not work as an engineer, but I tried my best to make sure to use the numbers and the analysis and the figures to make decisions in human resources. Supported with my MBA from Maastricht School of Management, I had a holistic view about management, engineering, to make sure that I can progress in my career. I worked in different organizations across many fields. I worked in petrochemicals, banking, and also financial services. Today we are here to have some objectives that I would like to make sure it is conveyed to you and we learn together. Together, during this keynote speech, we will understand what is engagement and why it matters for any organization. As well, we'll tackle some tools that you can use, quick wins in your organizations to ensure that you can improve the engagement in your organizations. Finally, by this session, hopefully you will be inspired to make sure that you can impact the decision makers at your organizations to consider engagement as one of the strategic pillars for their success. Because I believe employee engagement, it's not the cherry on the top, it's the whole cake that we should tackle and ensure it's implemented well in our organizations to achieve success. So, engagement, as in marriage, it involves getting into a relationship, a commitment and involvement, also financial investment. So, being engaged at workplace, that will mean the employees are committed, they are enthusiastic, as well as they are willing to work harder to achieve the company goals. So it's not about only being happy or not being accepting something in return, but it's being proactive at workplace to ensure that we are doing and we are producing and we are achieving what is expecting from us without being asked as employees. Let's talk about some numbers. Let's talk about some numbers. So engagement, if we didn't tackle it in our organization, it will be had a disadvantage. It costs around globally more than $9 trillion if we have disengaged employees in our organization. Imagine that number. On the other hand, if we had engagement in our organization and our teams are engaged, that will contribute toward 21% of profitability of the organization. Employees who are engaged will produce more by 14% in our organization. So that it means it is very important for us to implement engagement strategies in our organizations. So as an engineer, I like to describe things in terms of systems. So if we have engagement in the middle, we have an input and output. The input, what can we do to ensure that we have a good engagement system in our organization, and the output, what is the return that we are expecting in our organizations to have it after implementing that engagement systems. The input, the main thing, corporate cultures. We do not expect to have engaged employees if we don't have the right mindset in the organization. My colleague in the previous keynote speech said, culture eats strategy on breakfast. So if we don't have the right mindset and corporate culture within place that ensure we have engaged staff, it's end of the story. We cannot achieve anything. If we had the right culture in the organization, supported by leadership style, because without leadership style that work to influence the employees or be role models in the organization, doesn't matter if we have the right culture, if there is no one in the organization can implement that culture within the workplace. Third, policies and procedures. We have a good culture, we have the right leaders in place, but if the process, the policies, the procedure does not support them in a place, they cannot go and take decisions. So whatever there in a place to be implemented must be supported. I'm a good leader, I need to motivate my employees, but HR policy doesn't support it. How can I motivate my employees? How can I train them? How can I influence them? So it must be supported by the right policies in a place to ensure they can practice the leadership style that we want in the organization. Lastly, communication. Nothing from that will matter if we don't communicate with our employees, if there is no transparency. So we do things, but we don't communicate it properly to them. So effective communication with our employees is very important to ensure that these inputs can impact the engagement levels. Going to the outcomes. The outcome of engagement will improve performance and productivity. As we said, 14% is the expectation of productivity if we have engagement in our organizations. Absenteeism and retention rates will reduce if we implement engagement strategies in our organizations. Customer satisfaction, because employees will be able to convey the vision and mission and the strategy of the organization to their customers. They are happy, they are engaged, they will do whatever it takes to make sure that the customer is happy. And that will turn out to have financial gains for any organization. But the dilemma is, how can we improve satisfaction or engagement level? If we cannot measure it, we cannot improve what we cannot measure. So in the beginning, we have to ensure that we have the right system to measure engagement in order to have it as a baseline, and from that we can continue working on it year after year with the proper plans to ensure that we can improve that number of satisfaction. There are many tools that you can just Google it. You will learn a lot about the engagement tools around the world. I can categorize them into 3 parts: surveys and questionnaires. I'll mention the pros and cons of each one of them. It's good. It will give you more data, more analytics to understand what's going on in the organization, because usually it's anonymous. So people will feel free to speak and convey their message about the work environment, strategy, the organization. They will not be afraid of conveying the message. However, it takes a long time, and sometimes employees don't perceive it well. It's usually lengthy, contains of 50, 60, 100 questions. So if we don't have the right environment and maturity level in the organization, people will not take it seriously. That's why it's very important that we ensure they understand the benefit out of these surveys before launching them. Pulse check-ins, small, concise, very limited questions to serve the purpose. However, it will not give you more insights, so you need to dig deeper to understand what's happened in the organization. The most famous example of pulse check now, they use what we call ENPS, Employee Net Promoter Score. It's a concept that has been adopted by marketing people. You simply ask the employees one question, which is how likely you would recommend the organization. And employees can answer from a level of 1 to 10. From 1 to 6, they are dictators. 7 and 8, we call them passive. 9 and 10, we call them promoters. Organizations who adopt this methodology will focus into the attribute of the promoters and will try to resolve the issues that comes from the dictators to ensure that they have a well-established engagement level in the organization. But again, as we said, it is one single question, so will not provide you with an insight toward resolving any issues that you might encounter in the engagement. Lastly but not least, the interview and focus groups. It's effective because that will make you directly engage with the employee. You will listen from them directly. You will understand why they said that, what do they mean about it. But the main issue that if there is no maturity level, people will be afraid to speak. Nobody will talk, and they will be afraid. They will be not honest sometimes because if they speak about their management, they might be punished. So the right culture or the right non-blame environment within the organization is very critical toward having the interview and focus group to enhance the engagement level. To consider which one to use, we have some consideration. Is it easy to use it or is it difficult? Do we need to do customization? Does the survey work for my purpose or I need to customize it to make it fit my demand? The mode of feedback. Do I want it remotely? Do I want it electronically? Do I want to sit with the employee? So it depends on the mood that will make your purpose be served. You use which one of them. Finally, do I want to have some analytics? Do I have the HR system that will support me to analyze these feedback? Also, that will help you to determine which approach to select. Personally, I love to use all of them. A mixture of them, depending on the occasion, depending on the purpose, starting by doing surveys, analyzing it, followed by having an interview and focusing group to diagnose the issues that we had from the initial survey. So we do the survey, then we do focus groups to discuss the result and work with the employees and involving them toward addressing the issues that came from the survey and setting the action plans, which is our topic now, action plan. So we knew what's going on in the organization. We knew why our employees are disengaged. So it's time for us to start working on action plans to ensure that these are addressed. Otherwise, it will be a wish list. An action plan must have a clear objective, a KPI. What do we want to achieve? If we said there is an issue in leadership, what we are addressing here? Are we addressing the communication or the confrontation between the leader and the employees? Are we addressing the way that the manager is handling the performance evaluation with the employees? Or are we addressing the leadership style of selecting employees and hiring? So we need to ensure exactly what we are tackling in terms of leadership and have some measurement to ensure that we can work on it. We should have a plan, clear dates, responsibility, and who is accountable to implement that change or this improvement in the organization, and then remeasure it again. Barriers of employee engagement. So we knew the input of the engagement. We knew what the output and the benefit of the employee engagement. However, we should address the barriers. We cannot go and do fancy things in our organization like addressing the well-being of the employee or sponsoring employees in MBA, for example, or running a marathon if we don't address the basic needs, which is Maslow hierarchy of needs. If we don't tackle the initial thing, do we have a fair pay system in the organization? Do we have the right policies in the system? I couldn't care what you are doing for me in terms of development if you are not paying for me fairly with the market. So that must be addressed in the beginning. If there is no security of job, I don't care what you are doing for me. I don't care if you do a campaign for breast cancer in the organization to promote wellness. I don't care about sending me to a training if I will know that tomorrow you might fire me in the organization. So safety is very important before you jump in. So you need to tackle it step by step before jumping ahead and seek the last level of the hierarchy, which is self-actualization, to ensure that our employees are engaged with us. Until when do we have to improve the engagement level? Is there a limit? When do we stop? So engagement is great, but there's a dark side of it. The dark side of engagement, that the more that you continue to improve, the more that you communicate, the more that you listen to the employees, that will create expectations. So employees will be always looking for change. They will be always looking to do improvement. One of the items that is underrated in the evaluation of all engagement survey is the pay. So no matter how much you ask questions, are you happy about your pay? Nobody will say, yes, I'm happy about my pay. Everybody will say, no, I disagree. Why? Because they will be expecting benchmark, raises, bonuses. So wrong expectations and high expectations might ruin the culture in the organization. Resistance to change. The more that you ask questions, the more that you implement change in the organizations, people will reach at a point where they are happy about the organization and they are happy about the environment. So whenever you come and try to implement change, there will be resistance because they get used to the way that they are working. So we need to address this and ensure that we have a right change management to process any place before any change. Over-attachment. People who are engaged are so attached to their work. They are happy to go to the work after 4 o'clock. They want to stay in the office. They don't go on leave. So that will create employee burnout. So it's not healthy to make our employees so attached to the organization, and we should ensure that they have a work-life balance so that they don't reach that state of work burnout. From your perspective, which way is better when we tackle engagement and change in any organization? Do we address it from top to down or from bottom up? By raising hands, who believes that the best way to tackle change in organization should be from top to down? Few hands. You are correct. And also the other group is correct. Why? It depends on the type of change. If we are looking for dramatic change in structure, if we are tackling things that have regulatory requirements in our organizations, we need to have the top-down approach because there is no time. We need to take the decision very quickly. It must be adapted with no time. So it should become from the management to the employees. However, you might expect resistance. We might expect employees don't accept that change, and we need to handle their emotions and their feeling before implementing that change. The other type, bottom up, is great, but not for all occasion. It's great when we are tackling shift in culture, or we would like to change the behavior of the employees or how we deal with each other in the organization, like promoting collaboration, like promoting teamwork. It's great, however, it's not effective to ensure that we have critical changes at any organization. So it's all about change management. When we implement engagement in our organization, we expect people to have some resistance. Not everyone would like to accept change. People are comfortable. They have their own comfort zone in the organization. So to ensure that we have the right implementation of engagement strategy, especially with things that will impact the employees' day-to-day activities, we need to ensure that we have the right change management process by involving employees in decision-making and having a plan toward achieving it. When we implement change in any organization, Don't be afraid when you see the performance of your employees falling down. If you heard about the G curve, it's a curve that will show you after any change, we are expecting as managers to notice that the performance of our employees will go down because they need to readjust their way of work. They need to adjust their mindset toward any change. If we have introducing a new technology in a place, people will not accept it in the beginning until they see the impact of it. Now we have AI tools going into workplace. Not everybody is comfortable to work with AIs. People are afraid that if I implement AI tools in my organization, you will fire me because you will depend on AI, not me. But with time, when they see the value, how AI will support them to make their jobs effective, they will understand and they will start picking up their performance over time until they reach the moment where they become so effective and successful in their organization. There are many success stories, which is something I would like to end my speech with. When we talk about engagement and culture, we shouldn't take some example and try to implement it in our organization because there is no one size fits all. Success stories might work for that specific organization. Why? Because it serves their purpose. It serves their people. Companies have different size in terms of number of employees. Some of them are profitable, some of them are not profitable. In that case, we shouldn't go directly and see the best practice of employee engagement at X company and implement it in Y company. We should ensure that the change or the corporate culture that we want to have in our organization serves our mission, serves our vision, serves our values. If we are in a high competitive organization where we want people to be competitive to achieve great result, we shouldn't implement a system where we promote collaboration because we want people to be competitive. On the other side, if we want people to be collaborative, then our performance management system, for example, should serve our need as an HR by having system in performance management that allows employees to work together and there is no competition. So before implementing any success story in your organization, try to address the need. Why do you want to have this engagement in our employees? Do we have to promote innovation? Maybe no. Do we have to promote leadership development? Maybe no. So it depends on what's the purpose, what are the key drivers that we have identified in our engagement survey that will be linked and aligned to our vision, mission, and values in our organizations to ensure that we can have success stories similar to other organizations. With that, I'd like to wrap up, but I would like you to be engaged in wrapping up by telling me something that you have learned from that session. So who would like to volunteer? The J curve? Yes. Thank you, Jasim. The limit of engagement, the dark side of engagement. Thank you. Any other volunteers who would like to mention something they have learned today? The J curve also. Thank you so much. Thank you. Any other thoughts? The assumption. Which assumptions? Okay, perfect. So we need to tackle before implementing any change, understanding the purpose of that change, and then knowing where to tackle that change, top to down or bottom up. Thank you. Okay, with that, I'd like to conclude my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.